Today on One Big Happy Life, we're going to tell you what to look for in a bank and how best to use your bank accounts. Hey guys, this is Joseph.
And Tasha from One Big Happy Life. So in our last video, we talked about why we have 20 bank accounts. But in this video, we are going to be talking about what we look for in a bank, where we bank, and the differences between the various types of bank accounts that you can have at a bank.
All right, so we want to talk about what to look for in a bank first before we go through the different types of bank accounts and all the different ones that we have. So when we first look in a bank, we want to know how much we're going to have to pay for this service. And
Hint, it should be zero.
Yes, that is our ideal bank. They cost us nothing. And that's why we use Ally Bank, because they don't charge you any fees for having bank accounts.
And this is where we're going to diverge, because Ally is his bank. I like Ally. Ally is cool. But before I met Joseph, I also have two banks that I still bank with to this day, even though Ally is now our primary financial institution. I also bank with Navy Federal and USAA because I was in the Marine Corps, and so I joined those banks back when I was in the military, and I absolutely love them, and they are just as awesome as Ally. So...
Okay, so they have different features, and we'll talk about that a little bit too. The second thing is we want something that pays higher than average interest.
Which Ally does.
Ally is very good about that. And so they pay higher savings. They used to pay more on their checking accounts, I think, and now they've fallen more in line with, I think they're still above the market, but it's not the 1% that I think it was at one point.
And the next thing is access to brick-and-mortar locations, because although we do bank primarily online, there are benefits to having access to brick-and-mortar locations, like being able to deposit cash, because sometimes you get cash. And also, if you ever get very large checks. So in the beginning, when I first graduated from law school and started to get the checks from Yale to pay my loans, I actually would have a hard time depositing them at the bank online, because the online mobile deposits had a $10,000 limit. Now that's gone up, and now I also get direct deposit, but that's really important because sometimes you will want to go to a brick and mortar bank.
And that brings up another point, ATMs. So the online banks typically do not have their own ATMs unless they also have an arm that has branch locations. So they'll either be in coordination with a bunch of independent ATMs, or they'll reimburse your fees wherever they are. And that's what Ally does. They used to reimburse just unlimited transactions, and I think now it's down to 6. And so that's pretty good for online banks, and I think other banks too.
Yeah, so USAA reimburses a certain amount. I'm not sure how many either. But yeah, definitely look for reimbursing ATM fees and a wide ATM access network. Another thing that we look for is having user-friendly mobile apps and websites, because look, it is not fun not being able to figure out where your bank statements are or where you need to go in the app to, say, deposit a check or something like that. So that's really important.
Similarly, websites, we do so much tracking on the bank's website to see how things are going, looking at the snapshots, and so it's just as important. And I think now many banks have transitioned to where their mobile app looks almost identical to their website because everybody wants it to be mobile friendly, and so that's worked out on both platforms.
Another thing that we look for with our bank is that they offer a wide variety of products that we like to use. So for USAA, for example, we also have our insurance, some of our insurance through them. So our homeowners insurance, we have valuable personal property through them. We also have an umbrella policy through them. We often also have like credit cards, cashback rewards, things like that. Roth IRAs also through some of our banks. So the more things that you can put under one umbrella, the easier and more straightforward it is to manage all of those things.
Frequently, banks will give discounts and things for the number of accounts that you have, or minimum deposit amounts. If you have, 25,000, 10,000, you get better rates, something like that.
Yes, that's actually a really good point. Not just better rate on your checking account, but they'll do this thing called relationship pricing, where if you have a certain amount of accounts with them, then you may even get something like a discount on your mortgage rate if you go to have your mortgage through your bank as well. So that's something to always ask your bank if, say, you're in the market for a loan, like a car loan, which also we have through our banks. We get our car loans through our banks, usually for cheaper than we can get absolutely for cheaper than we can get from the dealership, because otherwise we would just go with the dealership.
Let's talk about the types of accounts that banks offer. So the one that everybody must have is a checking account. Now, so this is good for anything that you have a lot of transactions out of. This is how you'll pay your bills online, write checks, go to the ATM, you'll have a debit card, you can get cash. It is the most versatile.
Yeah, and you may never actually write a check on your checking account because, modern times. But you will still want to have a checking account because there are limits to how often you can move money around from a savings account and other accounts.
Sometimes they have fees, and so avoid places that are charging you fees unless they're doing something amazing that I've never seen.
Yeah, and Ally and several other bank accounts, banking institutions, including both Navy Federal and USAA, offer no balance requirement, zero fee checking accounts. So there's no reason to pay money to a bank for a checking account or a savings account because there are plenty of stellar options available that don't charge money.
Now the flip side of that is you won't get much interest. So I think Ally pays 0.1%.
Yeah, most places you won't get much interest for checking because your checking is basically your on-demand account. Like the bank can't count on that money staying there for any particular amount of time because you're constantly doing transactions in it, compared to your savings account, which, because of the limits in the amounts that you can pull out of your savings account, it's easier for the bank to make money off of that money sitting in there. So then some of that gets transferred to you in terms of interest being paid, which, by the way, savings account is the second type of account that you can have in a bank.
And so it's more stable, so they give you a higher rate of interest. At Ally, I think it's 1.45%. But the downside there is that they limit the number of transactions that you can have. And so they don't give you a debit card. Most of the time they don't give you a debit card. But you can transfer back and forth between checking and savings, but only 6 times, and then they're going to charge you.
Whereas a checking account, you can have unlimited transactions from a checking account and you won't get charged. So that's where a checking account outshines a savings account.
And the great thing about savings accounts, and this is why we have so many accounts, is that you can frequently have as many as you want at banks. Some banks will limit the number of checking accounts that you can have, but most banks, I've never seen one that says, no, you can only have so many savings. And so you can use them to categorize all of your different things.
Another type of account that you can have that we do use are certificates of deposit. And this is where you set aside a certain amount of money for a certain given interest rate in return for the bank being able to keep that money for a certain period of time. Now, there are ways to access your money, even if you did put it in a CD, but the benefit to the CD over a regular savings account is that you get paid higher interest.
And the last type of account that banks will typically offer is a money market account. And now this might pay a little bit higher interest than sometimes savings and definitely checking accounts, or at least they're supposed to. In this interest rate environment, they don't pay much at all. There's not much difference between a money market account and a savings account. They're both pretty limited because you have 6 transactions. I think the idea is you're trying to get more return in a money market account, but right now they're basically the same.
And we don't really use them.
No.
So that's what we look for in a bank and the various different types of bank accounts. Now, I'm sure there are a lot of other considerations that may be more specific to your situation, but this is a great starting point.
Don't forget to drop us a comment below if you have any questions about the video. Don't forget to thumbs up and subscribe.
And sharing is caring. See you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.